Hello, welcome back to Caught Above the Cat. I'm just on the Cotswold Canals. This is the last of 3 videos I'm doing in this little snippet. There's plenty more to come from the Cotswolds and there's plenty in the past, so please do check my videos out. I'm just by Ham Mill Lock at the moment, the Ham Mill Bridge in the background and Ham Mill Spillway just here. I'm in the area. I was at a volunteer conference up at the Brewery, which is just up here. I'll point it out when we get to it. It's a lovely place. Do great food in there. I had a halloumi burger and a pint and stuff, and it's fantastic. The owner is a huge supporter of the canal. He actually came in and spoke to us while we were having this meeting. He donates for free the use of the facilities for the little conference room he's got there to the trust. He doesn't charge them at all. So thank you very much for that. So what I'm saying is, if you're in the area, want a nice pint, want some nice food, pizza, burgers, usual sort of stuff like that. It is fantastic and gets my 5-star rating. So, and I know food, as you can probably tell. So you may notice there's quite a lot of stuff in the water here. That's actually sort of debris that's floated up. So you can see it's all quite black. So what happens? Trees and whatever die when the reeds die in the winter. Fish poop, duck poop, everything sinks to the bottom of sediment. Now they are, as you'll see in a minute, they're clearing a section up here. It's being dredged at the moment. This is all going to be dredged. I think they've just started it as part of the restoration of this canal through. But a trip boat has come up here today. It's the first time a trip boat has got up here for 50 years, I believe. I think it was 72, I think, maybe, the last time it happened. Yeah, it came up and has followed down. So there is a video, either there or going to be there soon, of Perseverance is called, running up and down the canal in different bits. I will be doing some trip boat videos. I spoke to some people today about it, so we'll do some cruising videos down here as well. It's probably, I don't know if we get up here with the cruising, but yeah. So all this stuff anyway is where the boats come up. The locks have been opened, it's pulled all stuff through and up, and you'll see it bubbling. It's fish loving it over there, feeding off it and stuff. But that's just sediment rising. As the canal is used more, that stuff helps clear itself. You know, like I said, the locks opening and pulling a load of water through, boats running through, stirring it up, help that to happen. But while it's in restoration and there aren't boats coming up here, it is just going to sort of grow out of reeds and fill up slowly. So although it's an ongoing thing, it should be less common once the canal's in water. So up next we have Bagpath Bridge. It's a standard Canal Company bridge. It's got the flat top on it again. It's the same as a bridge further down, which I mentioned in the last video. So it's got the springers on here, which are sort of wedge-shaped stones that form the start of the arch. Arch goes across. About the sort of top stone, and you get on a lot of bridges which support it. It's another bridge that hasn't had a huge amount done to it, just a bit of sort of patching up and stuff. It's largely in its original position. This then takes us towards the Stroud Brewery. So there's a lot of dredging going on up here at the moment. They're actually here working. This is a different day to when I filmed the original. I've actually popped back up to get this. So you've got another boat there. I'm not too sure. I think that's a private boat there. I don't think there's anything to do with the trust. Just up here, you've got the mud boats, and you've also got a green tugboat just ahead with the double-ended dredger up in front. You can see up here they've got the dredgings going up on the sides. This is only a temporary measure at the moment because this canal is being dredged. They can't actually get a full mud boat all the way down. When you fill it with mud, it sinks quite considerably, and they're struggling to get it through this section. So they're just dumping up in there whilst this section's all cleared. And once it's done, they should be able to start pulling it down. So on the left here was the original site of the Phoenix Works. It was Thrupp mill beforehand, and a court before that. There's been something here since 1381. In 1828, the mill was leased to John Ferriby. He was an iron founder, and various things are made here to do with mills and stuff. But one of the more notable things was this is where the first lawnmower was made. They were invented by Edwin Budding, and development was financed by Ferriby. Budding also invented the adjustable spanner, which was made here. So two quite widely used things now still in existence. So you've also got the 2 wheels here. You've got one up behind Kingfisher there, and then one on the end of the mud barge there. There's a bit of confusion for a while what these were, but after extensive investigation by various people, it turns out they're tappet wheels. They were They were formed part of a set of filling stocks using the process of wool and cloth manufacture. They were donated originally to Stroud Museum by Cam Mills and stored at the former Stroudwater workhouse. They ended up in a council waste and storage depository close to the brewery here. They originally formed part of 2 of the sets of filling stocks from Cam. One set is now at Dunkirk Mill Museum and the second set is St Mary's Mill. So this brewery is really nice. They do great food, and this is the second time I've eaten here. I had a falafel burger today. I had a halloumi burger last week when I was here. Really good food, really good drinks from the sort of ales, the lagers, the ciders, and as well as some of the more the sort of the bottled drinks that they get in. It's worth popping down and having a look. Anyway, so back to the canal. So this is eventually going to be a winding hole here, which is why I think it's being dug out on this bank. As I said, all this silt is going to be moved down when they can get the boats through, and you'll be able to turn here. So further on up here, you start entering the sort of the blockages, which are planned to be restored, but probably not whilst this, this bit will be in use first before that happens. So they've got one of the buckets over here, I guess for stability, and they're pulling out here. Obviously, being the time of year, they've done their assessments. There's no nests and stuff in here that they need to worry about. You have no idea how satisfying it is to watch them lifting huge clumps of reeds out. So every sort of September onwards on the Wilkes and Barts Canal, where I don't volunteer very much, but I try to when I can, is reed pulling season. So they've got about a mile or so at Pewsham, and you spend most of the time either in a butty or even in waders, just pulling reed after reed after reed, and it can take them 2 months to clear it with multiple work parties. They're just tearing through that like it's nothing, and it's actually very interesting. I might do a video on this separately at another time, but Dudley, the boat here, was actually built by the trust as such. So it was a sunken wreck up in the Midlands, and the guy operating the crane on it now helped massively in the restoration of it. The cranes weren't original, they were added onto it and stuff like that as well. So it's a bit of a DIY boat, but it looks like it's doing a fantastic job. Well, they're doing a fantastic job. It wouldn't be happening without the volunteers, both in the restoration of the boat and on the canal itself. Yeah, so thank you very much to everyone who's getting involved in making this happen, because it is happening, and it's great to see. So this is the Hope Mill infill. So as you can see, the canal ends. There are pipes coming through which come from further up, which we'll get to in a minute. So there is flow coming down through. You can actually see it moving. And you can see in the sand and the sediment where the flow runs through there. So it's about 190 metres of infill. There was a lock here originally, going up again, and was the 6th lock of the flight up here. So the actual lock chamber has been built on, hopefully infilled. They don't know. Most of the time they weren't sort of, the locks weren't sort of destroyed, they were just infilled, and then concrete all built over the top. It's probably quite likely that it survived. So only really the towpath survives now, which is what we've been walking down here. The canal channel was up through the middle here. I'm not entirely sure where the lock is. I think it was on this side over here. Even though that's there, I think that's right. I think that's there, and I think the new lock would have to go here. And the reason being is this lane. Now, historically, there wasn't a bridge here, but to get access to here, they're going to have to build a bridge across. So you're going to have to build it at the bottom of the lock. So otherwise, it's going to be quite a high bridge here to get across. As a side note, it was also known as Riddler's Lock. It was occupied by Abdallah and Mitchell Boatyard until the 30s, or late 30s. Yeah, there didn't seem to be a bridge originally serving this. There will be, obviously, with the restoration. So we're on the towpath, as I said, and the canal would have been to the right here. On the other side here, now you can see the canal line here. So you can kind of see better here where it would have run down through the middle there. Slightly higher level than the previous bit, obviously being a lock down there. So there is a little bit of water running through a section, and below, as I said, which feeds the canal. So this is towards the highest point of the canal. It's going to be restored as part of phase 1, as part of phase 1A. It takes us up, I'm not entirely sure actually where it is here. I think it's a bit further down. It's planned to stop. Whether I think there are plans in place to do work up here, purely because Brimscombe Port is a private development, and we'll go into that more in a minute. So just up here, I'll just come onto the bridge and then come back to the bridge. On the other side here, if I remember rightly, is, you'll see a pipe. There it is. See that blue pipe? So that is Goff's orchard feeder. So as I said, it's the highest point of this restoration at the moment. It operates as a siphon that draws water up from the mill pond just over there on the River Frome and raises it over the embankment and discharges into the top of Goff's orchard lock, which is this lock here. To start the siphon, they pump air out of the pipe in a small brick building over there, which has got a little solar panel on, and then they regulate the flow with a gate valve. They're regulated on how much water they can take out of the river, as they always are, although quite a bit is going to end up back in there anyway. They can only take a certain amount out, so they've got to protect the river as well, and the fish in the river. The feeder was built in 2017 by Cotswold Canal Trust volunteers. We are infilled from here. Again, I know we're infilled on the bottom here as well. See how clear that is where it's coming up? It's crystal clear in there. So this is Goff's Orchard Lock Bridge. They dug it out in the summer of 2009 underneath, like the canal was excavated. All the bricks on these bridges are handmade because of the time. There weren't big factories pumping them out. There were places doing them. There was brickworks along all the canals, but they were handmade rather than machine made back then. Inland Waterways Association has helped, as long as the Cotswold Canal Trust. It's also been known as Dalloway's Lock and Lewis's Lock, and there's a 7th lock on the Thames and Severn. I think this is probably the last lock that's 16 foot wide, because then you're into Brimscombe Port. So again, it's 68 foot long. This is quite a good place to show you. I know I always say how a lock works. You got here, look where the water will go down into the lock. You'll have paddles which you open up, let water down. The gates, you can see the triangle here. I'm not sure what's going on there because there's like an extra piece coming out. I think they may have had some, like a temporary bund, maybe a wooden bund in there. So I don't think that's actually anything to do with the lock gates. And then you've got sort of like you've got a metal sheet on the front there, which protects from bumps. Again, I'm not sure that's original either. But that's called the sill there. When you go into a lock, you need to get away from that, tie yourself to the side so you don't hit that, because when you empty the lock water and you hit onto that, you'll be in all sorts of trouble. You've got the metal here still, which would have been the ring going out to there, which would have held the lock gates in, and they would have closed 2 gates closing in and come into this section here. On the bottom of the locks, they work a little bit different. So the paddles that you open to empty the lock are normally on the lock gates. If you actually look at where that cutout is, you can see where that life buoy is. That there's the metal, which would have been where the lock gates sat, and then you can see just a bit further over there's a slit taken out. There's one on both sides, and the paddle of the gate, when you open it, would sit into that. So you'd open the paddle on the gates and water would rush out on the bottom. Just down here as well, you can see the old coping stones for the wing walls and stuff. So it verges off here. The canal was further across, and then the tow path as such, which is the footpath through, now goes to the side. I'll show you the other end in a minute. So then we're into this now, which is the infill, which is about 700 metres long. It starts at obviously Goff's Orchard Lock we've just been at, and continues to the eastern boundary of Brimscombe Port, where it arrives at Bourne Mills. There's a lock there and a bridge, and that's where that calf I mentioned earlier is. So this footpath doesn't quite follow the tow path. If you look behind me, the canal sits further back and would have run through here. I'm not sure quite how this is going to work. I don't know if they've got to build a bridge up here. It's because there's properties and stuff out there. But I think the canal would have ran across here. Right here, it's closed at the moment, is Cotswold Canal bookshop, which is fantastic. Been in there before. It's massive. So it's all the proceeds go to the charity. It's books and music and stuff like that. It's turned out to be a fantastic way to raise money for the trust. If you like to have a read, I tell you what, actually, if you probably into canals, watching these videos. If you go in there, they've got guides. They've got several bookshops. They've got another one down in Stonehouse, which is fairly new, doing very well. And they sell books in a lot of their visitor centres as well. But they will get books from you from somewhere else. And if you are going on a boat and holiday, you live on a boat, you want some guides and stuff, it's a fantastic place to get them. Got a ship in, which is hopefully going to become a canal side pub again. And then we're on to Brimscombe Port. I've done a video on this already, and I don't think anything's changed up here. So this was originally the transshipment basin. I think the canal came through here somewhere. I don't think it was, because that's the River Frome down there. I think it was a bit higher up. So the plan is this is going to be redeveloped as housing, with the canal running through the middle, with a mooring point in here as well. So this is where they used to transfer from Severn Trows to Thames barges and carry on up towards London, and has been levelled apart from a few of the more historic buildings over here. But I'll put a link up in top right hand corner, so please have a look at that. That's just a little bit about what they're hoping to do. It changes, so it's probably a little bit out of date now, but it's relatively sort of on point on what is happening. So why not sign up? They've got 7,000 members, something around there. I believe they've got about 1,000 volunteers, about 400 very active volunteers, which is huge. It's a great way to meet people, get involved in projects. The Eastern End, if you live down the Eastern End, sort of Thames, Lechlade Way, there's loads going to be happening soon down there. They've just built a new Eastern Depot, and they need more volunteers. So please do have a look, join something very exciting on canals, and let's get this finished so we can get the next one done. So anyway, thank you for watching. Please do click the like and subscribe. Click the bell button to hear about my future videos.